Welcome back here today on the beautiful campus of Florida Panhandle Technical College. Here today with Danny Page, heading up the EMT program. When we come back, we're going to talk to Danny about the opportunities in emergency medicine. It's certainly a growth industry. There are lots of job opportunities out there. Sometimes you may have to drive a little bit, but that's the same with any job. We're going to talk about this program as one of the over 40 degree and certification programs available right here on the campus of Florida Panhandle Technical College, right here in downtown Chipley. Opportunities for you to retool your life. If you're an older adult, you've lost your job, been downsized, a nicer way to say it, this is an opportunity to find a career that you may step right into. More importantly, within a year to get a real well-paid job. Our motto here is one life, 1 year, one great career. When we come back, we're going to talk to Danny about EMT, and we will be right back. Welcome back. As mentioned, our guest today is Danny Page. Danny, you're going to be heading up the EMT program. How exciting, certainly for the school, and I would imagine that you're kind of looking forward to that, aren't you? Have you already started it?
I have. We've got one program that has been completed, and we're getting ready to start our next one.
You've already done one whole program?
We have. We just completed our first EMT program that I was the director of. We just finished up about 2 weeks ago.
How long, how many hours or how many weeks or days, however you measure it, how is that program?
Well, it's changing. In the upcoming program that we're starting in March, it will be a 300-hour program. So we're starting in March, and we'll be completing it in the middle of July. 300
hours, you meet for 4 hours at a time?
We are meeting for 4 hours at a time on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights from 5 until 9 o'clock. And then in addition to those hours, the students are required to do clinical hours at various times that fit their schedule.
So what's that, like 5-6 months total, roughly?
It's about 3-4 months is the total time that's required to do it.
Okay. In Florida, the first step in being in emergency medical is at the EMT program.
That's correct.
After a certain amount of time, you can then go to paramedic school, become certified as a paramedic, can then do invasive techniques, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Let's back up, though. Talk a little bit about Danny Page. How did you get involved in EMS, and what circumstances were brought about that brought you here to the campus?
Well, I've been in the emergency medical services field now for about 20 years. I had never intended to do that, never really thought about doing that. I just saw an advertisement for a local community college in the Gainesville, Florida area for an EMT program, and thought, it wouldn't take a lot of money or a lot of time, but let me see if I might enjoy that. And I knew from the very first night of class that that's what I wanted to do. I loved it. I was very excited. I couldn't wait. I remember to this day my first time riding on an ambulance, doing a clinical as a student, and that has stuck with me. And from there I went on to fire school and paramedic school, and I've done it now, worked in this field for about 19 and a half, 20 years.
Lots of opportunities for, as we mentioned, well-paid jobs.
Correct.
Many times you have to be willing to travel a little bit, sometimes 45 minutes or an hour in any direction. But right here, right where we are in the Central Panhandle, I would dare say there are a lot of city and county organizations who are ready today to hire EMTs and paramedics.
Yes, I'm aware of jobs in the area as far east of us as Leon County, Tallahassee area, but also Jackson, Holmes, Washington, Walton Bay. All of those areas are always hiring EMTs. In some cases, you may have to get your foot in the door working as a part-time EMT, but very often, very quickly, full-time opportunities come along.
Obviously, the larger the municipality, the better the pay, typically as a rule of thumb. But coming out of this school, ready to go to work, one of your students could expect to make in what range as a full-time EMT in some of these local systems?
As you said, every system varies. Every county's pay structure varies. But you could come out of an EMT program and with a minimal amount of working experience very easily start off making probably in the low to mid-20s as a full-time EMT, but I also know some areas that your first year you could easily make in the mid-upper 30s as an EMT.
The interesting thing about EMS or fire service is that in Florida there have been lots of issues revolving around the work week and fair pay and expectation of hours worked. So typically most of these systems work 24 on, 48 off.
That is correct.
So you're working 24 hours, you actually go in and spend a whole 24-hour cycle. That means you sleep, you eat, you watch TV, you get to smell your co-workers throughout that whole period. But the upside is that then you have 48 hours, and obviously if you work in a slow system, you've probably caught some sleep, but even if you're in a busy system, you get to catch up on your rest, and in some cases even carry on a full-time job in addition to what you're already doing as an EMT. Would that be accurate?
That's very accurate. Because of the schedule that we do work, the 24/48 typically on your 2 days off. You can go to school, you can work other jobs, supplement with additional things to keep you busy. So there's definitely a lot of time. It takes some getting used to for the personnel. A lot of times their families get used to that type of schedule, but once you get used to it, I can't imagine at this stage of my life going back to a normal 8 to 5 kind of job. It is kind of nice to have those days off. Some of our 24-hour shifts, you really work the whole 24 hours, and you hope for those times to eat, sleep, and watch some TV. It doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's nice that we get to be there, but we're always ready to go whenever we need it.
Yeah, more and more we see EMS systems going private, especially in other areas of the country, in some of these big cities. Matter of fact, in some cities, they have competing facilities where you'll have 2 or 3 private services, and they're scanning the radio frequencies. So if they hear of an accident, they're sort of beating feet to get to the scene. We don't have that here. You're with Bay County, and obviously Bay County EMS is run under the auspices of Bay County. And so you furnish all of the EMS services. A lot of values there. You're dispatched now are you still internally dispatched there from Bay Medical Center, or are you under the police department?
No, at this time we're actually dispatched by Bay County Emergency Services Communications. The county itself has its own communications division that dispatches the fire and EMS for the county, as well as several other municipalities in Bay County. They do the dispatching for all of that. It's also connected with the Bay County Sheriff's Office.
Okay. I remember about 30 years ago that Bay Medical Center actually had their own dispatchers and their dispatch center. It actually caused confusion because if somebody made a 911 call and then turned around and called the hospital, you got double dispatched and there was some confusion. So it makes total sense for one entity to dispatch fire, ambulance, and police department, law enforcement all at the same time.
It does.
In your case, you have so many different towns and municipalities in Bay County, certainly surrounding Panama City, that if you're in Cedar Grove or Lynn Haven, some of those are gray areas. You're not really sure, are you in the county, in the city? Many times I'm sure SO shows up at the same time as PD, at the same time as the ambulance service and fire departments. And then into that mix, you've got individual fire departments in some of these municipalities. So many times you've got lots of people and trying to sort it out as to who's got jurisdiction, I would imagine.
That is true. It has definitely gotten better because Bay County Communications Division now dispatch not just for Bay County, but the City of Panama City Beach Fire Department, the City of Springfield Fire Department, the City of Lynn Haven Fire Department. And so that has really helped combining those, so we have not quite as much confusion. But in some of those municipalities, because the county provides all the EMS, but yet law enforcement may be by the city, fire may also be by the city or the county, it can be confusing, but our dispatchers do a great job most of the time of keeping that separated. And even if we all show up together, we work well together. And that's the great thing about EMS and this business is all the different divisions, whether it's fire, law enforcement, EMS, we all are a big family and work well together.
Yeah, and that was something I was unaware of. That's interesting to hear that Panama City Beach Fire is now also under that auspice of Bay County.
They are.
Makes total sense, especially the beach. If anybody's aware of the island that is Panama City Beach, they call it Panama City Beach, but Panama City Beach is in the middle and you've got county on either end. So again, you had lots of opportunities for Thomas Drive and West End Fire Department to overlap with that Panama City Beach. But as you point out, mutual aid is huge. You guys have really got it together in Bay County as far as mutual aid is concerned. And it seems like that central dispatch, that ties it all together very well.
It does. As of February the 1st, Bay County Communications now dispatches for every single fire department in the county, no matter what the municipality. So that has helped out. I remember years ago when I worked for Bay Medical, under Bay Medical Dispatch, like you mentioned earlier, everyone didn't talk as well together, but now they're in the same room. We get the information faster. We share the information back and forth a lot easier, a lot more readily, and it really does help the patient, help the citizens of the county.
Danny, you've got one class under your belt already, getting ready to kick off another one.
We are.
Well, roughly when does that next class start?
The next EMT class starts at the middle of March.
Okay. If somebody wants more information, you can go to the website, fptc.edu. You can certainly come by Student Services right here on Hoyt Street, right here at the administration building. You mentioned about 300 hours plus your clinicals. Now, many programs here on campus have what's called open enrollment. That means that a student can come in and start the program at any time. I would presume that yours is a definite start date, definite end date, that same group stays together throughout the whole class.
That is correct, because we do work so closely with the surrounding hospitals and EMS organizations to do clinicals, and they start at a certain time, so all the students become eligible to do their clinicals at a certain time. And so we do start together, and we will all end together. That's different from some of the open enrollment classes.
I know clinicals for EMT and then preceptorship for paramedic was done at Bay Medical Center down there in Bay County. You could do some at Gulf Coast. Here, do you use Northwest Florida Community Hospital for some of that clinical?
We do. For our hospital clinicals, and the student is required to do a number of those in the hospital emergency department. They use Northwest Florida Community Hospital here in Chipley, and also Doctors Memorial Hospital in Bonifay. For our EMS clinicals, which the students are required to ride multiple shifts with a local EMS agency, they can ride with Washington County EMS, Holmes County EMS, and or Walton County EMS.
So lots of flexibility there. If someone is coming here from Walton County, say they live in Defuniak Springs, they're coming here to school, they can arrange possibly their precept or their clinicals so they don't have to come all the way here to do some of those. Would that be correct?
That's correct. I do recommend they experience all of the counties because they are run differently and see different call volumes, different types of calls. But they do such a number of clinicals, they could very easily do the majority in their home or local county, whatever's most convenient to them. And it could be arranged to do all of them there, but it's still very, very local. They would have to come here for class, but even oftentimes they could arrange to do their clinicals before class during the daytime, so they wouldn't have to make two trips. So we do our best to make it convenient, or as convenient as possible for the student.
And that's really good. It's been said about EMS, fire, and law enforcement that it's hours of boredom punctuated by moments of sheer terror. And unless you work for a busy system, that could really be true, especially someplace like Washington County. Don't get a lot of calls maybe, but when you do, again, it's just that sheer terror of trying to figure out what to do. Do you find that sometimes, and I realize you're just going into your second class, sometimes that we have people go into EMS or fire or law enforcement, we can speak to EMS here, sometimes for the wrong reason. They're in love with that idea of lights and siren, and sometimes maybe you have to winnow those people out that are not in it as a career, but rather for the excitement, which we both know is going to wear off pretty quickly.
It does. The excitement is a neat thing. I mean, I still get excited about it 20 years later, but does not always mean it always is the right job for a person. I tell people a lot of times the EMT class, the EMT program is a great job, a great opportunity to find out if it's for you or not.